Hey guys, so this week I'm chatting to you about how we actually go about planning our trips. Now I'm going to sort of break it into two things, and the first one will be about how we planned for our Big Lap of Australia, and the second one will be about how you plan those trips for school holidays, birthdays, making sure the kids aren't sitting in the car for an 8-hour stretch. So those sort of little trips that you need to consider. So planning for a trip around Australia, there's a lot of research that goes into it, and if you're not caravanners or you really know nothing about it, it really does take a lot of research. Now for me, I was at home with 3 kids and my husband was at work, so for me, I started off with a lot of the research about how to just caravan with kids, how to actually buy a caravan or what sort of caravan we wanted. But the big thing was planning your trip, like where to stop, what to see and do, what are all the hot spots and amazing places to see in Australia. So firstly, I actually started following a couple of Instagram and Facebook pages that were currently travelling Australia. And from there, I decided to save a lot of locations of places that I really wanted to see. And I remember actually seeing a family travelling and they were on the Ningaloo Reef, and I'd actually never heard of the Ningaloo Reef. So, before we even started, I was desperate to go there. Facebook and Instagram are actually really great to plan your trip. You get some really good inspiration, find out places that you want to see, whether it's inland or coastal, and the good old Google search. So I remember, popping in that Google search, traveling with kids, and you'd be amazed at how many fantastic websites there are and resources. One being Caravanning with Kids, the other one being Travel Australia with Kids. They're great resources of information. There's also some excellent Facebook groups, Families on the Road Travelling Australia. It's a great one. You get loads and loads of information. I actually didn't know anyone who had travelled Australia, so I didn't really have anyone, a friend or a family member's advice to go off. So for me, it was all online. I had to do all my research there. Now for the next part, I'm going to chat to you about planning a trip from one destination to another. And I think it really is dependent on the ages of your kids as well. For us, we started out, the kids were really young. We left with a baby, so we had to time our trips with her sleep times. So typically we'd leave 10 a.m. She'd have her morning sleep in the car. We'd arrive somewhere at lunchtime, whether that would be our final destination or we got out and had lunch, had a run around, and then she would have her second nap in the car. For that sort of instance, that might have been when we were crossing the Nullarbor or in sort of remote outback areas. But when you're cruising up the East Coast, you typically only do those 2-hour stints. So it's great for the kids and there's not too many dramas in the car. For school holidays, now it's a bit of a tricky one. It's very busy. Caravan parks are just chock-a-block. And if you're over across the top of Australia, you will actually struggle to get into caravan parks. So you do need to plan ahead. And it's hard because then you're on a bit of a time frame to get to a destination. And if you're like us, we like to wing it and just go with it. So we did have to book in the likes of Darwin. We stayed at the Darwin Free Spirit, which is an excellent park. And like I said, it was chockers. There was kids everywhere. But booked ahead and we were lucky enough to get a spot. Now, another time I planned my trip was to get to Broome. This was where we knew we were stopping for a good 2 to 3 weeks, and I thought I'd take that opportunity to toilet train my daughter. And that being, one, because we were stagnant for that 2 to 3 weeks. I knew we weren't driving far in the sense of going to different attractions and activities around the area. 20 minutes tops we'll be in the car, so no accidents, thank God. And it's really warm weather up there, so she could just get around in her undies and winning. If you do have older kids, ours now, we've got our eldest, his school age this year, so it'll be sort of the same thing. We get up in the morning and we'll do our schoolwork and then we'll hit the road at about 10 o'clock. So you definitely have to plan your trips. It has to work for everyone. And the big one is you need to follow the seasons. So, you want to be across the top and in the top end in those, or in the dry season in that June, July, August. So I think planning your trip and timing it to be up there at that time is an absolute must. And again, if you wanted to do, the likes of Cape York, you obviously need to do that in the dry season and making sure all the tracks are open. If you are up there outside of those months, it is extremely hot and the wet season is hard. So, yeah, if you're planning a trip, I definitely advise to get up there in those months of the dry season. So again, do your research, find out the best locations for the best month sort of thing. So we were in Broome April one year, we were there the next year in I think about July, and both were fantastic. April was definitely a lot hotter. And July was just absolutely perfect. So there you go. I hope that's helped you plan your trips around Australia. Good luck, and drop me a comment if you've got any questions. Bye bye.